Heyo everybody, it's OmniDog. OmniDog's Omni Kittens. How's it going? Good to see everybody out there. Thanks for tuning in as we're talking about Harley Quinn Grows Up. Now these are the two books I'm going to be talking about. And I understand if you're not a Harley fan. And you may be wondering, Jess, can you be objective about these books? The answer is yes, because I understand that there are good Harley books out there and bad Harley books out there. Now, if you think there are only bad Harley books out there, you probably aren't even watching this video. But I will tell you a couple of runs of Harley that I'm not a fan of to just show you my objectivity to it. Because, yeah, I admit, I'm in the bag for Harley and I dig her character. The run that came after Palmiotti and Connors in Rebirth, I haven't been a big fan of that one. It's okay, and I collected it and I read it because I like Harley, but it's not like I would recommend it to anybody. I've been reading some comics online. The one of the online digitally that I've been reading, the Eat Bang Kill tour, which is supposed to be a continuation of the animated show, which I loved. I'm not a big fan of that comic, the Eat Bang Kill tour. This isn't a review of that comic. I'm just telling you there are some Harley books out there that I'm not a fan of, so I can do an objective review. Not a fan of the Eat Bang Kill tour. There was a Harley comic that I did read, and I can't remember. It started as... I know Stephanie Phillips is doing a run now that's supposed to be really good, and I haven't read it yet. But I did read another Harley book from DC, and I'll save it for when I do a review of maybe Harley comics that come out. Because it was actually good, and I'm flaking on the name of it now, but it was good. Anyway, so I can review these books objectively. Freudian slip. So the first one I'm going to review is Harley Quinn, and this is Batman White Knight Presents Harley Quinn, DC Black Label book. It is by Katana Collins, who is the wife of Sean Murphy. And it is part of the Murphyverse. So you're going to need some back matter in this because it's a continuation of these two books. Yes, I have them in different formats. First one, Batman White Knight. Second one, Batman Curse of the White Knight. So this is the third one in the series. And it's become known as the Murphyverse, which is pretty catchy since... It's a all-in-one universe, and these are Elseworlds. Both of these books are Elseworlds tales, but they all are when you think about it. So keep in mind that these are comic books. So that's, they're my passion, but I also realize they're made up. So let's take a look. It's got a cool dust jacket, cool cover underneath. So what's going on in here is the continuation. So I'm going to try and do it without spoilers if you haven't read the first two books. It's not a standalone book. You have to read, in my opinion, you have to read the first two books to get a full understanding of where Harley is now. Because she has been called, well, I don't want to say what's going on in here because you may not have read the first two, but you may still be interested in this review. But things are different in Gotham City in this version of Gotham City. I will say it's not going to wreck the story for you. Batman is behind bars, aka Bruce Wayne. He's behind bars for the reasons you'll have to read the other books for. But Harley is on her own now, separate from the Joker, and she has kids from the Joker plus her hyenas, who she calls her babies. Her kids, she calls her kids. I think her babies, I think, is what she calls her hyenas. Here she is seeing Bruce in prison. So that's the setup, and that's all I'm going to spoil for you for the Murphyverse. But Harley's very much on her own, and in this story. In the previous books, she developed a really sweet relationship with Batman / Bruce Wayne. And that one of the sweetest moments in the Curse of the White Knight is when Batman's being led off to jail, where she draws a heart on the window of the police cruiser that's taking him away. And that's all I'm going to spoil it. But that's not that big of a spoiler. I mean, you have to know something to know about what's going on in these books. Now, the art is by Matteo Scalera. Let's get the exact Sean Murphy's names on the book. Let's get this exactly right. Katana Collins, script and story. Sean Murphy, story and covers. Matteo Scalera, art and variant. And of course, who did the colors? Dave Stewart. Shock. He does awesome colors, and it's no wonder that he's always asked to do colors, because he's so awesome. But Harley's been called in to help solve or give her input into a series of murders in Gotham City, which involve old-time movie starlets. And at this point, Gotham has been rid pretty much of all kinds of colorful criminals. It's quite peaceful, and then all of a sudden, these starlets are showing up murdered, and they have here's a great picture right here, and they have a great effect on Gotham City because it's relatively peaceful. So you've got, they want Harley's knowledge of her previous background in the other books, since she was Joker / Jack Napier's girlfriend. They'd like her help in solving these murders. So that's basically what it is. And she gets some help from the FBI, or the FBI actually is the one that calls her in to help on the case, because the FBI has been called in to help. And there's a fun little scene here for those of you who are into Batman the Animated Series, where one of the victims, he doesn't become a victim. He is one of the ones that the criminals are stalking is the Gray Ghost, Simon Trent. He ends up playing a good part in this book, and it's really fun. I don't want to show you too much of this because it'll spoil it, and I don't want it to. But it shows a very independent Harley. She's got 2 kids and 2 hyenas, and she's balancing all that with trying to help Gotham City PD solve the case. She's got an FBI agent working with her. They do a good job of making him sort of, he's got a secret. So they do a good job of hiding his secret. They do a good job of showing us who the perpetrators are of this crime what the motivations are. But mostly I think what's interesting is it's obviously very much a Harley book that shows her as a strong, independent woman, balancing a lot of things, but using her brain to help Gotham City solve these crimes. Um, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of adventure. Her life is put in danger several times. Does Batman break out of prison at some point? What? Why would he do that? He's a law-abiding citizen. I don't know. Perhaps somebody's helping her. Or is she helping him? You're gonna have to read it to figure it out. Here's some more of the great art. But I loved this book, and because I love the Murphyverse. I read both of those books the first time, and I was like, those books are good. Then I read them again, and I was like, gee, these books are really good. Then by the time I read them the third time, and I absorbed every nugget of coolness, I loved both Curse of the White Knight and Batman White Knight. And I loved this book. This is an excellent focus on Harley, not as a dopey clown princess, but as a very smart private investigator of sorts, who's not afraid to kick ass, who's not afraid to ruffle a few feathers, and it's also got some amusing bits, but it's pretty much a straightforward tale of Harley in the White Knight universe. It's got a really great ending. She gets some help from people you wouldn't expect. And I think this is a really, really well-written tale. This is towards the middle of the book, a little past the middle of the book. This is the Joker in prison, in the hospital, in a flashback. So I think if you're into the Murphyverse, and if you're into Harley Quinn, 100% recommendation. I love this book. As you can see, my collection's all over the place. I've got the paperback for this. I've got the hardcover for this. I think both of these or one of these is in a deluxe. I don't know. Maybe it'd be a good if it came out in omnibus format, all three of them, I'd upgrade to that. But I'm fine with this as it is now. So this is a really well-told story of Harley in the Murphyverse. Now let me get to my next book, which completely caught me off guard. I didn't know what to expect from this book, and this is Joker, Harley, Criminal Sanity. Let's take a look at it. What's it look like under the dust jacket? Pretty much the same thing. As far as being a well-built hardcover, binding's great. Looks glued, not a problem. It holds its, it doesn't come, there's no gutter loss whatsoever for this type of book, but you'll see that the book, first thing that you'll notice, crazy good art. And it's told in current times by one artist, and then it's told in flashbacks by a different artist. Miko Suyon does the current art, the present time, and then Mike Mayhew does the past art, which I will be happy to show you both of. It's an incredibly good combination because they are both great artists telling a tale. Each one tells a different story, beautifully rendered. It flows perfectly as far as the story goes. It's not broken up at all by the flashbacks. The flashbacks even help make it really interesting. Now, here's the first part we're going to get. she likes to be called Harley Quinn. This is a way grown-up book. This is much more of a PG-13 book than the previous book. This is Harley as a solid criminal investigator. This is a book that I think the Minister of Comics, with his love of crime books, I think he would really like it. So as you can see, Miko Suyan does the initial art for the present day. There's Commissioner Gordon with Harley Quinn. She does not like to be called Harleen Quinzel for reasons that are not made known to us, but apparently due to her past. We don't know exactly what's going on, but we already get a flip into her past because there's a cold case that's been bothering her, and she's decided she wants to pursue it on her own, even though they've declared it officially the coldest of the cold cases, and they're not going to go forward with it. She's decided she wants to. The past is told, look at this beautiful art. The past is told in these beautiful color pictures, color illustrations that Mike Mayhew does. And the victims, I don't know if I should show you that. The victims, let me show you this part. This is where she has discovered, yeah, I didn't want to show you that. This is where Harleen has discovered her roommate that is this is like 5 years earlier while she was still in med school, or let's just say a few years earlier, discovers her roommate who has become part of the Joker murders. She's wanting to piece it together still on her own, even though she works for the Gotham Police Department under an agreement. She's willing to piece it back together on her own. And it ties into the present day story, her looking for who killed her roommate. And here we have another look into the past of another character that's in this story with Mike Mayhew art. And it's told gorgeously. Cami Garcia, who wrote this book, I think, has a real feel for criminal procedurals, because that's exactly what this is. And Harley is a hardcore, really smart criminal investigator at this point in the story. She's tracking down all the people that meant something in the investigation into her roommate. And then I don't know if I should show you these murders. They're extremely inventive. She is the first one it's not the first one on the scene, but she's the first one on the scene to identify what the murders are signifying. You can see there's a typical hard-nosed cop in here who totally questions Harley all the time when she's just blatantly right. She will come upon a crime scene that is modeled after a famous work of art a few times. She's able to figure it out. She's able to figure out the clues that the perpetrator is trying to get out there. Here she is giving a class on serial killers, and there's some real homework done, I think, by Cami Garcia here as they talk about serial killers. To me, this all rings true. She's talking about famous serial killers here now, and it is very impressive, the knowledge that Harley has about these guys, and it's clear that Harley knows what she's about. well, I don't want to show you that because that gives it away. Okay, this doesn't give anything away. So that she finds another. She's not the first one, but she's the first one to figure out what the next crime is, and they're more horrific and more puzzling to the regular investigators. But she's able to figure it out, and you're going to wonder, where does the Joker come in? They start to sort of cat and mouse each other. There's a story that it's all pulled together. First of all, 5 years ago, her roommate's murder, the Joker murders from 5 years ago, to the current murders now that are elaborately set up and staged. What she's able to figure out what they mean, what their purpose is, what they figured out it's the Joker, and here's how he's portrayed right over here in this book. Now, that's really the only quibble, and maybe it's not a quibble. That's the only thing I have, is everything else is played pretty straight. But then there's a guy with the white face and the red lips going around the city in beat-ass bars where the guy that's in charge of the Russian mafia's weapons dealer is having lunch and trying to find stuff from him. Would that... This is comic books, but it's so well told in like real life circumstances that's my only tiny quibble left. My only tiny quibble left with it is that, would he be walking around like that? But then he walks into the bar like that, and everybody immediately knows in this tough ass bar, he's not meant to be messed with. And he does all his dealings dressed like that, and nobody messes with him. So the plot device has a point, and it works for him. So I'm going to let that quibble go and say that it works. Here's some more past stuff that all... it doesn't look like it means anything. It's young kids in high school. Totally means something. Every page in this means something. Every clue, every interaction, every step taken by Harley, every step taken by the Joker, they're going round and round. She's getting closer, he's getting closer, but the murders that keep happening are more and more elaborate and more done to pique her interest. So they go from more mundane reasons. He has his reasons, but then they go towards trying to draw her in to his orbit. I just can't get over the artwork in this. I want to show you as much as I can without giving it away. But this book is brilliant. It has a staging, not a staging area, but then it's got a file, kind of a file section right in the middle of it. Right after an amazing cliffhanger thing happens right in the middle of the book that gets picked up later, it has a whole file section on things that Harley has put together in her apartment to try and find this guy. You need to read them all as they're written by Harley and presented to the Gotham PD. They are what help back up her proof of knowledge. They give evidence of her brain. She's a strong single woman. Again, she has no pets. no children. It's just her and her motorcycle. And it is one of my top books of the year. If it's not number one, it's going to be number two. It was fascinating, incredibly well researched, incredibly well written. The characters seemed very well drawn out. Even the secondary and tertiary characters seemed rich and full. I wouldn't hesitate to tell anyone with an interest in crime books to read this book. This isn't so much of a Harley book as this is the main book that Harley grows up in. She is on her own, no clown makeup. She is a serious criminal investigator. She is out to find out who killed her roommate 5 years ago, and it leads into a world of unbelievable... You're also let in on the killer's mentality, what the killer is thinking, what he's going through, how he's constructed his world, and you are led into, I think, an illustrated crime novel that I found fascinating, incredibly rewarding, brilliant ending that left me wanting more. And Batman is not present in this book at all. It's just Harley and Joker, and I don't hesitate to recommend this book to anyone. I highly, highly recommend this book. I just got done rereading it. I can't wait to reread it again. Strong recommendation. Love it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if I told you too much. Let me know if I didn't tell you enough. It's a fine line between telling you why I like a book without telling you too much of the details and spoiling it. So just know that if you're a fan of the Murphyverse, you have to get this because it's a great continuation of the Murphyverse. Establishes Harley as a wonderful, lovable, smart character. And if you love great crime investigations that are incredibly creative and incredibly well illustrated, this is a book for you. 100%. Peace and love, peace and love. Please feel free to leave a comment, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the not like button, the thumbs down, thumbs up. Hey, it's all good. I appreciate everybody watching this. Thank you so much. Peace and love. Peace and love.